Well, welcome everyone back to Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross, where we provide resources, education, connection, and collaboration to others that can support you in your mindfulness and your wellness journey. And I couldn't think of a better guest than my guest today to talk about mastering your routine. You may be familiar with him, and we're going to bring him on, but Multazim Zia, all the way from the UK, he is a multiple business owner, a physicist. You may have seen him on TEDx. He has done so many things. And let me tell you, when you have that many things going, you definitely need to have a routine. So I couldn't think of a better person to bring on today to help us, especially for all of us, those that are wearing all the hats in our business. So Multazim, thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. Honestly, I'm excited. I'm excited to say the least.
Thank you. So tell everybody a little bit. I mean, that's just only some of the things you do. I mean, how did you wind up going? You have such a diverse background. How did you wind up going in so many different directions? And what is your biggest passion out of all of them?
Yeah, so it's a common question, believe it or not. So yeah, as from background, I do a few things as you mentioned. So by profession, I'm a physiotherapist. So I do a lot of hands-on musculoskeletal work. I have my own clinic, so that's one of my businesses. The other side of my other businesses, there's one called the Multipath, which is where I do a lot of my coaching, writing services, helping clients in business, life coaching, things like that. Do a lot of PR work with companies. So that's some parts of what I work with. Other ends, I am currently doing my master's in law. Completely random, but I'm doing it. So that's a few things that I'm doing at the moment. So these are all the hats. Well, some of the hats I'm wearing, not all of them. So from a personal perspective, obviously I've got sisters. I'm an uncle. I obviously have my parents that I help support as well. So I think I've got to always remember, it's not just my business life, it's my personal life as well that we're balancing. And everyone else like yourself will be balancing. You have families and things and your friends. So those are some of my different areas of expertise per se. I do have other experiences, in real estate. So I help with some real estate properties that I have in the UK. So I work with them. So that's, again, like I said, an overview, very rushed, of what I do. And like I said, routine-wise, obviously it's hectic routine-wise, but I think as we go into and delve into the conversations, we'll discuss how I manage my routines, how difficult it can be. I think something that's quite a key part, and something I've been working on proactively as well, is trying to find some me time, rather than trying to find some work time. So I know with a lot of people, it's the other way. They're trying to find ways to motivate themselves to work. For me, it's the opposite. I'm trying to find ways to motivate myself to actually just relax and take a breather. But
yeah, it can be quite opposite. And I'm a big fan of me time myself. I told people, I said, I need me time. I have self-care time in the morning. Back in the day, I used to do me weekends, but that's not always as productive.
Amazing.
When you start to pick up things and you start to become a business owner and you start doing all these things, it does. You start to struggle a little bit with having that me time, because you need to relax. You want to relax, but it's often hard to shut your brain off, of stop thinking about what you need to do next, or did you do this or did do that?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
You are juggling off a lot. So tell me kind of what a routine would even look like for you, because if you don't, it does affect your mental, your physical. I mean,
yeah, honestly, it's insane the amount of times. So I think the best way to start, I think for me personally, and this is just to put this out there, I've always had sort of a routine since I was younger. So, and when I say younger, it's since high school days. So originally I was that simple, that kid that used to go to school not having any routines. But in my later years in high school, college, I really developed a routine of, whether it was studying at the time, working at the time, etc. But right now, obviously, this is where I think that little bit of advantage, where I was the only person really that had an actual routine. Like, I would block things into my mind. At that time, it was mental diaries. But now that I've got so many things going on, so many different activities, ventures, projects that I've got going on and I've got upcoming, it only made sense to start working with diaries. And this is where I started to work with my diaries. So for me, my routine, I probably wake up around more naturally now. Around 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. I wake up naturally. I probably spend the first 5-10 minutes just doing some nice affirmation work. It could be, and to be honest, it's quite lazy affirmation work. It's literally like I have my eyes closed, I'm just conscious in this lucid sleep, and I'm just saying nice positive affirmations to myself, like, you've got this, you need to wake up, smash the day, things like that. Just nice casual things to myself. And then when I finally book up the courage to open my eyes, I probably, like, the first thing I usually do is either try to read my book, or I'll go, it's still a bad habit, this, by the way, I go on my phone, but I'll probably start doing work from that moment on. So I'll go on my phone, go on my social medias, check out the stats of my previous, social media posts, any emails that are important that I need to know on my to-do list straight after a shower to get onto whilst I'm doing my admin slots. So I'll check all that stuff mentally, make a note, go through some social media work, quickly do some social media work on my phone, do some, I'm learning French at the moment, so just do some Duolingo work on my phone, just to kind of jog my memory and get my brain working first thing as I've opened my eyes. Then after that, go kind of freshen up, shower, come out, do my skincare routine. Yes, I have a skincare routine. Skincare routine. And then after that, that's basically where my day starts. So I literally sit down, do some studying, probably 10, 20 minutes of studying. That could be anything, because as you can imagine, I've got so many different things I'm doing at the moment. So on every single day, I'm revising or studying something new. So like Mondays, I do physiotherapy work. I'm studying physiotherapy. Tuesdays, I do like marketing studying. Wednesdays, I'm doing like law. Thursdays, I'm doing something else. Friday. So basically, that's my Monday to Sundays. I'm doing different things. And then eventually, after I've done that, like word of the day, read a quick book, done a few things, go down, have some breakfast. And then that's where I'll probably squeeze in my admin slot. So like 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. at this point, I'll probably squeeze in an admin slot. And the rest of the day is planned. So like the night before, usually I pre-plan what I'm doing for the next day. If I've not already got clients or something booked in, I pre-plan what I'm doing for the next day. And then, or like, obviously throughout the week, you book different things in. So yeah, so that's how my routine works. Now, a lot of my routine is dependent on what clients I have booked in, what days I decide to take off, because even my days off are work days. So even like, for example, Saturday, Sundays, your actual days off, people think like you can take your days off and you can just chill, hang out with your family. For me, it's like, nope, Saturday, Sundays are my catch-up days. I need to go get my emails done, get my, any templates I need to get ready, content I need to start structuring, get ready. That's what I do. So yeah, that's how roughly my week works. Obviously, if you need some specifics, fire away the questions. I'll give you all the specifics.
It sounds like you do more than one day than what most people would do in a week. And
I think, see, I don't think that. I'm like, this is nothing. I should be doing more. Honestly.
But you like that, and you feel you function well that way.
Yeah. Honestly, I do. Do you know what? I think, like I said at the beginning, like you said, sometimes it's one of those situations where now that I've become so used to this, when I have gaps in my diary, it bothers me. So like if I have an hour free in my diary, I'm like, why have I got an hour free? Like today I had a friend over, and my diary was still booked through the day. I still had things that I was like, I'm going to do these emails at this time. I'm going to speak to this person at this time. I'm going to plan this business plan at this time. I'll do all this stuff. But then all of a sudden, things change sometimes. Like I went to get some food and I thought, actually, half an hour just opened up. I just finished a lot of this work quite early. What the hell do I do in a half an hour? So I thought, okay, what do I do? So I just decided to walk around, do laps around my house. It was just completely random, honestly. I think it's the opposite for me now. I can't have free time.
Okay, you can. you tell yourself you can't, but you can. But like you said, everybody is different. I mean,
yeah.
I couldn't function that way every single day. I need that downtime to just dump and regroup. Otherwise, for me, I guess a lot of times, and a lot of people that I know, when you start doing that and you get so much stuff going, then you're not, you're not fully present, or maybe you're not doing something like 100%. And you're not maybe 100%. Being at your best. And if you're working with clients, maybe you're not at your best for them because, your mind's going. So, but when you're working with clients or coaching, you're able to shut it off and focus.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Like I know me, my friends, my family are all completely different. So I'm the type of person that I will work at high function all the time. And I really enjoy that. I really enjoy the fact that I work at such a high function. But for me, that's a normal. So I understand how that works. So I know, if I start feeling some sort of burnt out sensations, I know exactly when I'm starting to feel them. I'm like, okay, this is too much. I need to take a break. But I know a lot of people, like you said, I do a lot in a day than people do in a week. But that's how I tend to function. But whereas, where people would, like, let's say they did all the week plan in a day, they feel burnt out, really lethargic, tired. That's opposite for me. So in a day, if I don't do enough, I feel really tired, sluggish, lethargic. But I know that's how I work from a function point of view. I also am fully aware, like you mentioned, everything I do, it can not only reflect on me, it reflects on my family, my social life, my professional life, and business life. So when I'm coaching clients, going through business plans, we're speaking about, opportunities, businesses, or we're going through therapy work where I'm trying to assess a client on a shoulder injury they've had, or like a back injury they've had or something. It's one of those where for me personally, I have to reflect beforehand and think, you know what, do I actually have the energy for tomorrow's clients? Do I really have the energy for this? And I'll be completely frank. There'll be times where I've cancelled clients. I'll just say, look, we're not doing it tomorrow. And they're just like, sometimes they're like, why? Sometimes, look, I'm just not feeling too well. It's just as simple as that. I don't need to give them a reason as to what I'm feeling, but it's more like, I'm not feeling too well. But I know I'm not going to end up giving them 100%. But I think that's a very, very key point. So someone that is there out there that functions like me at high function, or is trying to function like that, you just have to be aware. You have to reflect all the time. I always reflect on how I'm feeling, what I'm feeling today, and if anything, can I give my best to the people that I'm trying to support, i.e. my clients, my family, my friends? If I can't, then maybe that's another reflection point of, you either can't function at that high function all the time, or you need to take a break. And I think that's where sometimes, like you said, you could be the type of person that likes the me time, takes their time doing things, for example, but you get it done. And that's the way someone else would work. But again, it's all about reflecting. And especially if you're working at such a fast capacity all the time, or such a high capacity where literally the next hour you've done emails, the next hour you're ringing people, the next hour you do admin slots, the next hour you're doing something else, you're going to work out, and the next hour after that you're going to go to work. For me, that's when you have to constantly, you have to be extra mindful of your reflection, which means you don't have the time, honestly, to reflect once a day or once a week. You have to be reflecting like every hour. Actually, do I have the energy for this next hour here, or then hour after that? Or will I, if I'm working this high function, can I actually focus in 3 hours time? I reflect all the time. So that is a very, very crucial point, and obviously something that, besides a joke, that people need to remember.
So to remember all of that and keep it going, do you mostly do, because some people are kind of dead set against or don't like using their phones or their Google calendars. They're a paper oriented person. Do you still put things on paper? Do you kind of rely on technology and calendars, or do you set alarms?
So I do a bit of everything. But if I'm honest, I'm old school. Like I have my online diary. Don't get me wrong. I have my phone diary that every hour, like every half an hour, vibration will come up saying once we finish this task, this will come up. So my diary will always kind of give me some notifications. But I like physical things. I like having things in my hands. So I like having to-do lists in my hands, a diary in my hands. So I will write things down. Obviously, I'll scribble them out if I need to change them, or if I've done too quickly, I need to add something in. I'll do that. So I have physical diaries. This is going to sound really bad. I don't advise doing this to anybody, but it's something I do. But it might work. So I have my online diary, which is like my diary that guides me throughout the day. And then I have my physical diary, which is basically a list of to-dos that I need to be doing, which is color coordinated. So I have like red to-dos, which is I need to get done urgently, like within the next day or the next 2 days, and they need to be done. Like these might be reports that I need to finish, or like I've got a podcast coming, I need to do some notes for it, or something like that. Or I have like, green ones where I'm like, you know what, these are tasks that the to-do list, but I'm going to need to consistently do these. Like, it's not something I can just tick off. They're always going to be there for me. So this might be, for example, I need to look into or edit my business plan. That's something I will never ever finish. It's always going to keep changing. Every month, every 2 months, it might change. So I'll keep that as green. I'm like, I can't tick that off. It has to stay there. And then you get those. I get the blue ones, which are things that I need to get done, but they can be done at 2 weeks' time. It's not a problem. Like they need to be done. They need to be scribbled off, but they can be done in a slow pace. So I have my physical diary. And then on my wall, do you know, if I was actually in my room, I'd show you my wall. So on my wall, I've got like this, like, I don't know what you call them, but they're like this, do you know, the wall whiteboards.
Whiteboards,
so they just stick to the wall though. And they're like, so it's like a whiteboard roll that sticks to the wall. And I have like a massive to-do list on that. So, when I'm sat there quickly like doing some study, I'm thinking, I need to jot this down. That's my scrap, like notes. I'll be like, okay, that's on there. If I need to look, whilst I walk past my room, I need to do that actually. Like, look, shit is there. So yeah, I have about 4.
It sounds like a crime scene board that you see in some of those shows that they show where you got stickies and this and cross
Yeah,
stuff off.
yeah, post-it notes. Yeah, post-it notes and
But
nothing around my
where would
whiteboard.
the world be without Post-it notes?
Yes, honestly, like, so I used to use post-it notes like a year ago, but then I thought, you know what? And then I thought the waste of money. I was like, you just get post-it notes, you write on them, you scratch them, bin them. And then recently, I think like 3 months ago, 4 months ago, I bought post-it notes, and honestly, the best invention ever. Like all of my walls, like my post-it notes, like that's like my studying stuff, my like my list of quick, if I need to look at my quick outgoings that I need to make sure every month these are sorted. They're on my little post-it notes, so I just look up and like, okay, that's outgoing. I don't need to look at my phone anymore or go to my bank statements. I know this is going out. Like it's a quick reminder. That's literally what I use my post-it notes. Though, those consistent but kind of spontaneous reminders. Look up, okay, boom, that's it. I don't need to quickly go research anything. But honestly, amazing inventions.
You mentioned affirmations earlier, and I know you called them lazy, but do you call them lazy just because you just have them run through your mind, or do you ever take time to write them down? Because I know they always say that it's normally better to write them than to just say them.
Yeah, so I do both. In the morning I usually say them out loud, not out loud, but in my mind. So that's why I call them lazy. The more my lazy affirmations, they're the ones that I don't need to use much energy for. I don't need to open my eyes for. They're just in my head. And I know that's still better than not doing anything in the morning where you're just slotting about, even sleeping for longer periods than you need to, or going into social medias. But they are still lazy. But in the end of the day, usually, if I get the time, I'll be honest, if I get the time to at the end of the day, because this is something I'll come back onto if we get the time. But on my end of the day routine is that's when I switch off usually. But at the end of the day, I usually either journal or I do positive affirmations over writing in my notebook, in my journal. Again, yes, I journal and diary because I think that's quite important too.
So you do actually switch off at some point in time.
Yes. So at the end of the day, so this is what I'll come on to. So at the end of the day, usually around like 10 o'clock-ish at night time, that's when I decide to just have my me time. Now, my me time consists of various different things. So on certain days, so I split my me time in 2 different ways. So it alternates. So every other day I do something else. So let's say on a Monday, I might do, for example, at night time, I might go over or look at things or go through things that I find fun. So I really like looking at artwork. So I might just go on Google, sit there, or watch like a documentary about art, or watch a movie about something. I like doing that stuff. I like having, I like just spending my time just learning and whatever about whatever I enjoy. Nothing that I feel like I have to learn about. Just learn it. And then obviously on other time on Mondays, for example, at the same time, I'll journal. I'll probably just spend some time where I'll just sit quietly in a room for 10 minutes, just take a breather. Sometimes, honestly, I'll walk into a room at the end of the day, I'll turn the light off, just literally flop into bed, sit down, put some incense sticks on, and put my candles on, and that's it. I'll just sit in silence for 10 minutes, just reflect on my entire life, and just think, what the hell is going on? And it might not be a bad day. I just literally think, what the hell is going on? Because sometimes you have so much going on, and you just think, and sometimes it don't have to be so much. It can be something so big to you that you just think, I need to go away and just kind of lock myself away for 10 minutes. I do that. And then other days is where I do like a full self-care routine. So let's say on the Tuesday, I'll go through my full self-care routine, which is at night time. I won't touch my laptop. I won't touch my phone. 10 to 11 o'clock. I won't touch my laptop. I won't touch my phone. I won't speak to anybody if I don't want to speak to anybody. If I want to spend time with my family, I'll just spend time with my family. If I want to play games, I'll play games. But then I'll put this is what I'll do. Another skincare routine at night time. So I'll put oil in my hair. I'll do like a face mask. I want to do a face mask. I'll do anything that I find fun. Like I could literally just sit there and watch TV. Like I'll just sit there, put everything away, and I'll just sit there and just stare at the TV and watch TV. And obviously watching something, I'm not just staring at a blank TV. That's just weird. But yeah, that's literally my nighttime routine, and that's the way I know I switch off. And that's I know that's what I like doing as well. So I tend to try to switch up every couple of days. Otherwise, I feel like I'm one of those people, as you can imagine, I get bored quite easily. So hence why I'm doing so many different projects. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I do so many different things, because I get bored really easily.
Yeah, it definitely a different insight. We're gonna have to break for a commercial break from our sponsors and stuff real quick, but hang in there because I know you have other important things part of
Yeah.
your routine of how you balance this, how you keep your physical and mental health through
Yeah.
doing this, plus your upcoming adventures. Because I
Yes.
know we didn't have enough, because I know you've got some more coming. So we will be
Yeah.
right back.
Yeah.
Hi there, I'm Dawn Livingston, your host on the Transcend and Succeed show. Join me Fridays at 2 p.m. Central for limitless inspiration and ways to help you transcend your limitations. Tune into the Achieve TV network and the Voyage to Vitality channel. Transcend and Succeed show, right here on A360 TV.
All right, welcome back. So obviously you are a very high functioning individual. And like I say, this is judgment free space. Everybody needs to do what is best for them.
Yep.
So how do you do all this? I mean, I know you have the calendars, you have this, but how do you feel that that plays to your mental well-being, your your physical well-being, and
Yep.
what suggestions or tips could you give to others that function that way, but maybe are not doing so well mentally
Yep.
or physically?
So something I would definitely try to highlight, it, like I said before as well, but something that I try to highlight, look, this, anyone's routine, regardless of mine, forget mine, anyone's routine really can affect their mental health. And no matter if you're doing one task a day, 5 tasks, 15, 20, 100, it's going to affect the mental health in either a positive or negative way. So sometimes you can get that, instant hit of like serotonin or endorphins where you've completed a task and you have that burst. So a good example is, and a good way that people say, and psychologists will say, start your day is by just making your bed. It instantly prepares you in the morning for a successful task completing day. Now, that could be a good motivating factor for people. So it could affect their mental health in a good way, in a positive way. Now, you get other people that have, either whether it's just mental health issues, whether it's just physical health issues, emotional health issues, or they just have no issues whatsoever, but they're just struggling with their routines. Now, I would say to those clients, for example, if I was coaching them or for anyone that's listening, is you need to identify what actually is causing this problem. That I know, for example, some people have certain issues like insomnia. So in the mornings, they're struggling to do their routines, going to sleep, waking up, and having some sort of function. Some people suffer with depression. Some people suffer with anxiety. Some people suffer with, just conditions that are so common, like PCOS with women. That can lead women to be lethargic, fatigued. They always have a sense of sleepiness and tiredness. Now, with all of those or any symptoms, you have to know, or you have to have some sort of awareness of what's causing it, or is it just general procrastination? Simple as that. It could be you're just procrastinating. But again, is it the fact that you don't like your routine? Like sometimes I have honest to God questions and answers with my clients, and sometimes they're just like, look, we don't like our routine. We don't like doing what we do. I know it's not the job wise; it's their own routine that they've created. We don't like doing our routine, and we don't like what we're doing in our routine on a daily basis. And sometimes you have to just sit there and just think, if you don't like your routine and you create a routine, this routine is not due to work, it's not like you're committed, obligated contractual agreements, why are you doing them? Like, what is it that you're doing it for? And I think that's a good good starting point to understand as to why you are struggling with your routines or why you are not completing your routines or as much as you want to do. Now, if it's one of those situations where you're having medical problems, whether it's, like I said, emotional, mental, psychological, etc., physical, then again, you'll need to identify that and then potentially try to rectify or manage those first and then try to focus on your routine again, or obviously do it together. So as you're speaking to your healthcare practitioners, GPs for medications, other advice, if it's like, for example, let's say depression, anxiety, maybe speaking to well-being practitioners and things. As you're doing that, you also start focusing and shifting some of that energy onto your routine, and naturally you'll start realizing there is some sort of synergy between the both. So as you become less anxious and less stressed, a lot more attention can be diverted to your routine, which means you have more energy essentially, so you have more time for routines. Now there's on the other hand where you just don't like your routine. So let's say on a Saturday or Sunday you're off work, but you've created a routine of, I don't know, I'm going to just watch TV for 5 hours, 6 hours, but you hate that routine and you want to be more productive. Clearly you hate that routine because you don't want to be doing it, or you don't have enough tasks to be doing, or they're not important enough. And that's where you can start analyzing your routines and breaking down. Sometimes it's so tough doing that. Do you know yourself? Like you could sit there, for example, after this kind of podcast and show, and just think, actually, what do I have to do tomorrow? And realistically, it might be something that you don't really want to be doing, but it's hard to figure out how to prioritize things. So that's one thing I just say, try to build a routine that you'll enjoy, because you don't want a routine that's so rigid where you feel like you're imprisoned by it. And you don't want a routine that's too free where you just leave your diary open, or you just have a free day where you just sit there twiddling your fingers because you're confused about, and you're spoiled with choice. Like you have, like, let's say, a massive to-do list, but you're spoiled with choice because you've got too many things to be doing on the day. So that's, again, 2 or 3 different ways you can look at it. So identify why you're not doing your routine. If it's physical, mental, emotional, or something like that, speak to someone in that professional area if you can't handle it yourself. Once you manage that, you find some synergy with it and your routine. On the other hand, if you have a routine and you don't like it, then again, you need to sit there and prioritize your skills and your tasks and make a routine that you enjoy, as well as obviously you need the tasks that you need to complete. Don't just put games in there the whole day, but complete. I think that's a good way of isolating and breaking it down. Now, well, let's say you're in those routines. Like, let's say you enjoy doing those routines, and you figured some things out, but there's something still off. Either you're fatiguing too quickly, or you're not able to focus the whole way through. Now, then I would say maybe focus on other external factors. And this is, again, another critical part of this, because scientifically and research shows that your area will influence what you're doing. So if you're working in bed, for example, this is quite a big one, because a lot of people, especially students, like working in bed. They like sitting there doing work on the laptops in bed, doing studying in bed, writing notes in bed, reports in bed. Obviously, it's comfortable and you enjoy it. Put a TV on, have a cup of tea, do your work in bed. But what your brain starts doing is associating your bed with work and work with your bed. So I remember I did this a lot in college and university. I used to like working on my bed. And I realized when I was in bed, I was always working. So even when I was sleeping, I was struggling to sleep, first of all. Secondly, I was even thinking about work as I was sleeping. Now, that wasn't just because I was functioning at high processes. It was because I was working in bed. So my brain automatically associated my bed with my routine. So it just thought, he's in bed, time to work. And then when I got off my bed and I went into the sofa, I became really tired because I was never used to working on my sofa. So I just became really tired. So I had to change the influence around my routines of where I was working. So I got a desk, started to work on my desk. Now when I sit at my desk, automatically I just feel like I don't need to go on my phone. I don't want to go on my phone. I leave my phone because I've just trained myself to do that. Other influences you've got to bear in mind, if you live with families, partner, children, they will also influence the way you behave and respond. So if you have a bunch of 2-year-olds running around you, you obviously can't focus with that, especially if they're your children. You're not going to be able to focus with that for multiple reasons. One of them being the fact that you're naturally, if you're already a person that procrastinates quite often, you're naturally going to find an excuse to go to them and just be distracted. So again, trying to find a place where you know it's your zone of working. This is why people have home offices and things as well. So they are a few key factors that I realized that changed and influenced where I was working and sticking to those routines. But yeah, that's some factors.
Oh, that's a really good point, though. And it's not something you don't think about that, but the way your mind makes that connection, because you're actually training to do it, but there's nothing really that says that it's doing it. But
Yeah.
that's a good point, because I know when I started working from home, I had to break that habit of, trying to work and stuff and have the TV on, because it was just a distraction. And I'm like, it's taking me twice as long to do stuff. So I got in the habit of that TV does not even go on until I know I'm done with my day. And that's it. And if I need to do stuff and my fiance happens to be home, I just ask him, please just go work on something, do something, but I don't want to hear the TV.
Don't put the TV on. So I do that. I like working. I think mine's a bit different. I like the white noise in the background. So I'll put shows that I've seen hundreds of times. I'll put that in the background. I'll just leave it in the background. Friends, How I Met Your Mother, Big Bang Theory, something. I'll just put it in the background and I'll just let it play. But that's because I really like having white noise. I can't personally, for me, I can't work in silence, because I think I probably will fall asleep. I'd be like, nope, not a chance. Again, that doesn't work with everyone. People can't have the noise, people can't have the distraction. But for me, that's something that works. Now, again, like you said, it's technically slightly bad, because now when I try to relax and watch a movie with my family, or my nephew and niece, and we're watching a movie, and they're only 2 years old, so we're watching Disney movies. Love Disney. We're all Disney fanatics. So watch Disney movies. For me, in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm in work mode again. But again, I've slowly, with my, like I said, and this is where my nighttime, where from 10 to 11 o'clock, I'll switch off and watch TV. I think I've also trained my brain to know, if I've put stuff away and I'm watching just solely TV, that's it. You need to relax. And I've trained myself to think like that. But I think it's such an easy point to adjust, but it's also something that's so hard to notice, because no one really thinks about even things like what you're wearing, for example. Do you know when I realized when I was in work clothes, I would work 10 times better because I knew I was in my work uniform. Whereas when I was just in my casual clothes, I didn't work at the way I should be functioning. I was like, so as an example, when I first started my clinic, I didn't have work uniforms made. I thought, it's my own clinic, why should I wear a uniform? I can wear what the hell I want. So I went and started to go in just my normal casual clothes, obviously things that I could do my physiotherapy work in, but my normal joggers, t-shirts and things. And I made uniforms, like a few months after I made some uniforms, and I realized when I put my uniform on, I felt different. I felt more professional. I felt more credible. I felt more authoritative. I felt like I was a physiotherapist in my clinic. I felt like a clinician. And that changed the way I thought. That actually changed the way I spoke to my clients, how I acted around my clients, the way I knew I was more responsible for my clients. All that level of responsibility never changed. The authority never changed. My position, status never changed. It changed because of my clothing. And those are massive influences. These little things that people think that sometimes, I think what people are scared of when it comes to routines is that they feel like they have to make such a drastic change. They think that they have to go from doing nothing all day to doing 16 tasks in a day. I'm like, no, you don't have to. Maybe just change, like doing your bed in the morning. Start with that. Simple. Yeah. Tidy your room every weekend. Make sure you have like an hour where you just tidy your room. Start with that. Or, like if you're already someone that does a few tasks, but you're feeling a bit lazy, maybe how about rather than doing those tasks for 2 hours, try doing it for 30 minutes. Get yourself comfortable with that. Then maybe push it up to an hour. If you need to do it for an hour, then do it for an hour. That's fine. Like it's one of those where I think people become scared and they actually put themselves off from actually trying to change their routines, because they just think you have to do such drastic changes, and realistically you don't. You can do small things like wear a uniform, sit in a different area.
Yeah, there's actually scientific studies, and I remember reading about that they did. Like if you worked in a lab kind of a thing, but you put a lab coat on and stuff, those people were more productive, more focused. But if they wore something else, they're not. I know for myself, it was kind of the same way. I figured I'm just working at home. I don't need to go anywhere. So I'd throw sweats on or whatever. Well, I felt grumpy, sluggish, slow. So I went to wearing like yoga pants, yoga shorts, something that says I should be exercising or I should be doing something, and not just it's wild how something as simple as your clothes can change that mindset and just put you in a total different, focus.
And
not to mention even colors. I know colors can play into that too. Certain colors and
So, do you know, if you like an example, I remember reading a piece of research that was, or heard of a piece of research that there was patients in a hospital, and I don't know what they call the word, but they used to, I remember a few years ago, well, I say a few years ago, quite a while ago, they used to give patients clothes to wear when they were after surgeries or when they were staying in the hospital. They used to give them, those hospital clothing to wear in the UK, and people used to act ill. They used to act ill, even though as physiotherapists, as professionals, we knew they could get up, they could walk, they could go to the toilet, they could do everything themselves. Because they were in the hospital clothing, that's it instantly. We need to be bedbound. But once I think that recently has been snapped out of that. Once they started to snap people out of that, and you could wear your own clothing in the hospital, people realized we want to be out of here. We want to get out of here, and that sped up the process of people rehabilitating, getting up and walking after surgeries, getting out of the hospital. The discharge rates changed, and you just think, yeah, because one factor that they changed, obviously maybe a few others, but the main factor that they changed, and they were experimenting in that experiment, was the fact that they changed their clothing. Now, that's a huge, huge, huge change, because you just think that's not just, us testing on ourselves. It's testing on a wide, diverse audience and demographic. Now, if people, different backgrounds, different religions, different ethnicities, different genders, all are responding similarly, where they're just trying to get up and get out once in their own clothes, but once they're in a hospital clothes, that's what they're done for. That should highlight on and somewhat stimulate some ideas of, actually, maybe these small changes can have a profound, magnificent effect on how you will respond to your own routines and your own lifestyles and your own even small changes. But yeah, it's just, I thought it was a nice piece of research that I thought would kind of relate.
Oh no, absolutely. And like I said, it's just those small things, and it's amazing how the mind works and puts those together.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are
Yep.
some of the other things you do to keep your routine, keep your head straight? I know you have your time you shut off. Is there other things that you do or that you could suggest to people? Like maybe they're trying to wear all the hats. Do you ever farm any of your stuff out to other people, or are you mostly do all of it?
So majority of the time, again, maybe more of a personal preference. Majority of the time, I like taking a lot of control over what I do, and that's for multiple reasons. One of them is sometimes I just think the finances are not there in the businesses to keep distributing things out to other outsources. Now, sometimes where you have to have this conversation with yourself, as in, regardless of how many hats you're wearing, regardless of how many qualifications I have, regardless of how much experience I have, you can't do everything. It's impossible. So then this is where you have a bit of a, I think, debate with yourself, as in, can you do this to a sufficient standard? If the answer is no, can somebody else do it to a sufficient standard? If it's yes, can you afford giving them the money? Is it worth giving them money to get them to do that task? Then you waste it. So if they can do a task in 1 hour, but it's going to cost £80, and it's going to take you a whole day, where you could have clients and make £300, for example, is it not worth just delegating that task? Get your clients in, delegate the task. You still make money. It's still a profit. I think that's one thing I would say to people. If you're looking, especially in a business, you start a small business, you're starting up businesses, look at if you can delegate tasks to people. If you can, delegate it. If it makes sense financially, delegate it. If it means that someone could do something better than you, delegate it. Don't be ignorant. Don't be egotistical that you have to do everything. Another way I think about things, when I do take them on personally, I try to take tasks on personally initially, not just for finances or any other reasons, but purely because I like the idea of learning small parts of that. So I like learning small things of how to do certain things. And then when it becomes too complicated, that's when I'll delegate it. So at the beginning, I used to create my own content for my websites and things. And I enjoyed it. Honestly, I really enjoyed it, because I thought I've learned so much in like 6 months. I learned so much of just creating my own things, do my own things. Obviously, as soon as the task became complicated, then I delegated it, because I thought I've got what I need, but I don't have the time, or to be honest, it's not a personal interest in me to learn it in such depth that I want to be pursuing it further. So that's when I started to delegate. So yeah, delegation is paramount in trying to run a successful business, but also manage your own personal diaries. Now, if you exclude the business element and you look at your own personal diaries, there's tasks. I know it sounds very businessy again, but I learned this quite late in my personal routine journey. I tend to try to take a lot of personal issues, problems, family drama, family friend drama on myself. I try to handle it all, financial issues, personal issues, etc. Then I realized, I thought, I can't do this, personal issue, business problems, like studying academic issues, and take them on single-handedly. That's when I started to outsource to my personal network of friends, family, people that I knew supported me. So things, for example, if there's issues in the household, and obviously trivial issues such as someone needs to get the groceries, actually, there's been a bit of a quarrel between my family, little sister, my parents potentially, or there's been a bit of a spat between somebody. I don't have to handle all of these issues myself. If I know, for example, I'll handle the arguments and the family politics, I'll handle that myself, and then delegate somewhere else to please run out, go get some groceries whilst I sort this out. Or vice versa, if there's been, for example, a issue with my friends, and I know some of my friends can't handle a conflict, they don't know how to handle it, and or my friends want to speak to me as a mediator, I might mediate the task and issues. But I also know if it gets to a certain level where only a professional can help or another friend can help, I'm more than happily delegate and say, look, actually, you come in as well, help manage the situation. So again, it works in your personal life. I think, again, something people neglect is that delegation isn't just a term that you use in business. Delegation is a term that people do every single day, I think, but they don't realize it's called delegation, or they don't like titling it, because sometimes they're delegating, by the way, can you cook today and I'll do the bins, or can you quickly mop up the floors and I'll hoover the stairs. That's still delegation. You're delegating household chores that take a lot of time from you, but will take a lot of time from the other person if they had to do it alone as well. Or if someone can do it better, for example, I know for a fact I can hands down iron probably better than anyone in my house, right? So I won't go give a task of ironing clothes to somebody when I know I'll probably iron my clothes better than everybody else, and I'll probably iron their clothes. And so, actually, do you know what? You're better at, I don't know, putting bed sheets on. Can you put the bed sheets on? You put the bed sheets on. You're better at that. I'll take 25 minutes. You'll take 5. I'm better at ironing. Let me do the ironing then. So it's all about this delegation and just recognizing your strengths, your weaknesses, what will save you both time, or your team time, or your family, or whoever you are trying to delegate the task to time, and whoever has the capacity as well. I think that's another fundamental element of this. Who has the capacity? Let's be realistic. Everyone is busy. Everyone is a different type of busy. Everyone has a different type of energy threshold. So it's like capacity. Who has the capacity to take another task, problem, issue, chore on? Like, if someone's doing 3,000 chores in the house and you say, actually, by the way, I'm going to go out to play football. Can you please do the tasks? It's a bit unfair. So again, it's about who has capacity to do that as well.
Yeah. And knowing when to ask, for help.
Yes.
A lot of people don't ask. They think they have to take it all, and then they get so stressed out, so overwhelmed. And it's
honestly.
So knowing when you do need help and when to ask is important.
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, when you need, I think, again, a lot of things that play into these factors are, societal issues as well. Like, I know a few years ago in university, I remember I needed so much help. It wasn't so much mental health help, but it's more help from my tutors and lecturers. But I avoided it because I thought, I don't want to speak about my personal issues with anybody with this stigma. And I'll be honest, it was a stigma of being a male. Like, I was like, I'm a male, I don't need help, I can handle this myself. Very stereotypical, very, very like sexist. I know it was kind of like, I'm a man, I'll handle it, don't worry, I'll sort it out. But as time went on and I realized, asking for help isn't a bad thing. And sometimes you actually do yourself a favor, but you do someone else a favor, because let's say you have so much going on, so much so that it starts affecting your personal life, your routines, your behaviors, your attitude. That then obviously will project onto your partners, your friends, your family, your social life, and they have to take that load on. But it's worse because they take that load on unknowingly and unwillingly. They're just taking the load on. So, for example, my family will take my baggage, for example, if I didn't speak to them about stuff. They take my baggage unwillingly. Who wants anything unwillingly? If I said to you, for example, like, if I just pushed you and caught you, as an example, you'd be like, what the hell is going on here? If I said to you, by the way, let's do a trust fall, and you choose to fall, right? You chose that burden of falling and trusting me. You chose the trust there. But if I just pushed you and ran behind you, caught you, you'd be like, what a crazy person. Like, you didn't willingly take that on. You didn't choose to take that. But I realized, for example, I'm really, really close to my family, my parents, my siblings, my sisters. And when I have an issue, and I know, for example, one of my older sisters, I know she's really good at helping, just vocalize my issues. So I'm a person who likes talking therapy. So I like speaking things out, problems out, I'll find solutions. So I'll speak to her and tell her all my problems. But I also know once I've willingly given her my baggage, she willingly will accept it. Now, if I've unwillingly given my baggage to her and she's unwillingly having to take it on, there's going to be a certain way she feels about that situation. So for me, again, that's a very, very crucial point. Like I said, just knowing when to give your baggage to somebody, or when to have that conversation, or when to delegate tasks in your personal business life is just something that I think it's a fine line. It's again a very good point. Something I should have mentioned as well.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely, and a lot of times we project those things, like you said, and we don't realize we're projecting it. It affects, it's kind of a chain reaction, and it just keeps going, because I've had people that get so frustrated. They're so worried about the outcome. They get, when they're speaking to like either prospects or clients, or maybe a new business partner or something, they're like so desperate for that, but they don't realize that it's coming out because they're like attached to that outcome. But when you can unattach yourself, not worry about the outcome, you can actually be, more natural and communicate.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, like you said, it's the communication element for me. I think communication is key in anything you do, whether it's communicating for a job, communicating for a promotion, communicating for, or trying to negotiate a bigger salary, contracts, getting new contracts, speaking to your family, trying to speak to a counselor, well-being, anything, communication is key. But when it comes to, relating this back to our routine conversation, when it comes to this routine delegation, trying to prioritize, trying to mentally analyze, and whether that's analyzing with someone or analyzing by yourself. So I have clients that will speak to me about their daily routine. So we'll actually sit there and we'll go through their routines. We'll actually sit there and go through people's routines and think, this is how we fix it, or this is what problems we need to identify. Whatever you do there, it's about your communication style. So if I was the type of person, and sometimes you have to be this person, but sometimes if you're a really stern, aggressive person, the way you communicate with somebody in terms of like, you need to sit down and really reflect on this. Sometimes that would work a gem, and it has. Sometimes my clients, I'm literally like, I have to be so stern with people and say, look, this is the problems that you're having. This is the solutions to it, but I can't do anything until you actually take the steps yourself. I can't fix that for you. And people just need to hear it as abruptly as that. But then you could do the same communication style at the wrong time with somebody, and that's it. It completely switches them off, and that's it. The game over. They don't no longer want to accept what you're saying. Just the way you've mentioned, they don't want to accept what's happening. But like I said, but the opposite, vice versa, can happen. You could be really gentle and supportive and nurturing towards somebody. It could work perfectly in the right time, the right place, with the right person. Now, if you do that to another person that it doesn't work in the right time, place for, they're just gonna be like, this. He's a bit of a pushover. A push comes to shove. I'll say, yep, cool, whatever. See you later. I'm out of here. And it never changes. Now, for someone like me, I think the right word for it is I get emotionally invested a lot of the time with my clients. I think the people I hold quite close to me. So if someone comes to me out of coaching and out of physiotherapy, coaching, life coaching, business planning, coaching, etc., to me it's not something I just think, as a business I need to make my money. For me, these are people. These are people that have come to me. They've chosen me. There's millions of people on this planet, all over the world, especially with technology the way it is, and they've chosen me. Even if that's one client a month, they've chosen me, right? They've chosen me for a reason. They've seen something in me, so they've given me their trust. They've given me their hope. I'm not going to be that person that destroys it, especially obviously intentionally, where I go for the greed and the fame and the glory of things. So that's why I think it's so important the way you communicate with people. And that's the way sometimes you need to just show, communication isn't just about the way you speak to people. I think it's also the way you act around them. So like we said, when we talk about routines and delegations and, our lifestyles and how we can make sure we're changing our habitual problems in terms of whether or not we're focusing on our routine and whether or not we are sticking to our routines, is the way we behave, the way we act about our routines. Like if you go into a routine where, like, let's say one of your routines is going for a walk, but you do that routine, you go for that walk, super unhappy, super lazy, unimpressed by it. of course you're going to feel like every day walking has become a chore. But if you go into your walking thinking, actually, I'm going to put my shoes on, just like you said, get your clothes on, get your your gym kit on, you go out for that walk. You know you're ready for that walk. People will look at you like you're ready for that walk. But if you go out for that walk, like I said, unimpressed, unhappy, you're disappointed, walking out, shoulders down, head down, and you see people eyeballing you in a certain way, thinking, is this person okay? It's going to make you feel uncomfortable, which gives you another excuse not to do that walk again or be extra unhappy about the walk. And you just think that's your behavior that's done that. You haven't actually verbally communicated. That's your body language. That's your non-verbal communication that's done that to you. So I think people need to recognize that part as well. Like, it's not just the verbal communication, it's the non-verbal communication that makes a difference too. And this is obviously how a lot of FBI workers work, police officers work, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep, it says a lot. And speaking of communication, since we only have a few minutes left, you have a new podcast coming out, the Multi-Dose podcast. So what is your new podcast about?
So the new podcast, very quickly, very briefly, I think I kind of went off a tangent there. So very quickly, very briefly, for years I wanted to start a podcast. It's been about 3 years in the planning, 3 years in the making, trying to think about the right names, right logos, right everything, right theme for it. And eventually, after so much planning, so much researching, so much note taking, finally decided to come up with the Multi-Dose podcast. Now, as you can imagine, is kind of franchised from the Multipath Therapy, and the Multi-Dose podcast. Now, the Multi-Dose podcast is to share authentic stories. So now you see all these podcasts that only accept, celebrities, famous influencers, famous people, which is all completely fine, have nothing against it. But sometimes you need to hear authentic stories from people that are in positions, that are experts, people that are influencers, people that are famous, people that are popular. We also need to hear stories that people that are professionals in their field, but they're everyday professionals that are not famous, not popular, not in social media, publicized. They're people that, for example, work as physiotherapists, people that work as optometrists, people that work as lawyers. They need to be heard, and not just based on their following, but based on their true, authentic experiences and stories, sharing knowledge that they've acquired over time for people to relate to on a different level. Now, I have guests from all over the world, guests of different calibers, and I said different calibers. I have guests that have 500,000 followers on Instagram. I have guests that have multi-million-pound businesses. I have guests that are people that are just everyday people not on social media. Have guests from everywhere. All of them are amazingly unique, amazingly epic, and just amazingly mind-blowing in the way they speak about life and the experience that they have. That's the whole point of the Multi-Dose podcast, is literally sharing your authentic knowledge. And that's essentially what it's about. It's just sharing authentic knowledge.
And I love that. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to put this together. There is so much out there and so many people, different people that can help others, and to be authentic and be yourself. You don't have to be some high star celebrity to be able to help or fix somebody. Not saying that's not a good thing. It is, but there's a lot of, what do you call them, average or just everyday people that have, stories that I think need to be heard, and know that there's other people out there that may be going through something that you're going through, and that they can help you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's more about, I've always said this, a few years ago, when I used to look at my social medias, it became an obsession trying to get, 100,000 views, 1 million views, trying to be the next thing. And I thought, you know what, forget it. I was like, even if one person views my content and thinks, I was so obsessed to a point where I delete videos straight away, delete pictures straight. Oh my God, only 2 people saw this. But then it became a point where I thought, even if one person watches a video and thinks, that's pretty good. Actually, in 5 years' time, or 5 weeks' time, I think, actually, I remember something someone said. So they don't know who I am, but someone said something like this. That's fine enough. And this is the podcast. It's trying to give a platform for people like that. Like you said, ordinary people. These sometimes it's not just the sung about heroes; it's the unsung heroes as well. People that are out there doing their jobs, doing their things, doing their daily routines. They're these single mothers, for example, that are working really hard, trying to get extra qualifications, trying to make ends meet as well, but have children. It's for them. Like, you have a story, you have experience to share it, because there's going to be millions, if not billions, of other single mothers in the same position. Someone needs to tell that story. That's exactly the Multi-Dose podcast. And
it's going to find and it's going to resonate with who it needs to resonate with. And that's what I believe. Exactly. It'll reach the people it needs to reach.
Exactly. And I think that's basically exactly the reason I wanted to be on this. Like, we had this conversation previously of like who we were, how we I think I said to you then, we resonated on a different level. I think mindsets and, you know, ambitions were the same. And like I said, these type of platforms are so crucial and critical. So obviously I'm super impressed, super happy, and I hope this blows up for your kind of show as well. It'll be amazing to watch it grow.
Thank you. And I appreciate your time. We are out of time, everybody, but obviously Multazim has lots to share with you. So if you didn't catch the QR code in the beginning, go back, get to his website and connect with him. As you can tell, he's a very high functioning, passionate, and yeah, love to have you on here, Multazim.
Thank you
very much.
so much.
Thank you. And for everybody else, we'll see you next Monday. Be there and be mindful.